Okay, and we should be live and recording. Can you hear me okay there, buddy?
Yeah, man, it's loud and clear.
Okay, so Tim Howell, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, man.
So for people who maybe don't know who you are, and for all those people who do know who you are, just a quick, what if you were going to introduce yourself at like a dinner party or something? What would you lead with? What would you say? Hi, I'm Tim. I'm
Yeah, I have no idea, man. I get that question all the time, and I'm like, I don't know really what I do for work, and I don't really know how to introduce myself. I'm a climbing base jumper, and I've been trying to make that my living for the last 3 years. But yeah, in between stints of offshore and yeah, selling my body for hire, just whatever goes, mate.
I know exactly what you mean. Like I have on my a lot of my profiles, like pro MMA fighter, base jump, adventure athlete, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
what do I say? Because I don't want to be forced to be labeled. And I guess if you were going to label me something, it would maybe be pro MMA fighter because that's probably how I'm best known. But I'm like, it's not. It's just a one small part of what I do. And looking at yourself, you're like
yeah.
yeah, you're like I would say you're an adventurer, but of course that's just going to lead to well, what does that do? So, but I mean, the
Yeah,
things
I mean,
you do are
I got married. I got married in January, and like they took us into separate rooms, like my wife and myself, and they kind of cross reference all the information, like where does he live, where do you live, what the jobs are, and I said for my job I was a rope access technician, and my wife said for a job I was an adventure athlete, and I was like, we're gonna get married. You can't have it on the certificate that I'm an adventure athlete, but yeah,
mate,
that's what went down in the end.
all that says to me is that your missus has got a much higher opinion of what you are than you.
Potentially, but then she gets really annoyed when I just sit around in the house when the weather's bad and I can't get out. So
So your
yeah,
your marriage proposal was pretty interesting, right?
that was pretty full on. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it started on the edge of a cliff, Cape Town, Table Mountain, and you got to scramble down to the edge to be able to jump off. So we thought we were quite hidden from view. But it turns out like when I got down on one knee and she said yes, like that huge crowd behind us like erupted and started clapping. I was like, oh, this is unexpected, but yeah, pretty cool. So we both jumped off together and we kind of flew a flight pattern. And maybe 3 kilometers away, 2 kilometers away, there's a rugby field. So that's like perfect landing, And we didn't make it that far. So Eva under canopy, I saw her like just spank into the ground and almost like bounce off, and I was still under canopy, so I was still maybe 100 meters above her, so I could just see that she had a bad landing. So I landed near her, and she was crying, usual tears. I thought maybe a sprained ankle or something, but I went up to her and I saw that there was blood coming out the zip on the wingsuit on her leg, and I thought this isn't good, this is pretty full on. So I unzipped it, and her whole shin just went bleh, just
Oh.
just the skin just came off, but I could see the whole bone, so I knew it wasn't an open fracture. It was just literally just sheared off the skin. So, but she wasn't bleeding out. She wasn't in that much pain. So I ripped off my top and I bandaged it, put the skin back up and bandaged it together. I spent like the next two hours like firemen's carrying her off the mountain back to the nearest car. So it was pretty full on. We lost the engagement ring. Well,
Oh,
I lost the engagement ring when she went into surgery. Lost the GoPro with the footage, which it's always good to see some carnage footage, isn't it?
you always.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
that's it.
yeah, that's
It's a good start. It's a good start. I mean, start as you mean to go on, right?
yeah. I mean, she still says it was the best holiday yet. So yeah, it was a busy day.
Is that
Definitely
how
won't
you,
forget it. That's for sure.
is that how you and her met? You met through this, or you met and then you got her into it, or she got you into it? How did you two come about meeting?
So we met skydiving. She used to skydive in. She's been an instructor at the weekends in Madrid, and I just finished a deployment in the Royal Marines. So I had like I think a month or 2 months off. So I really wanted just to hammer in the skydiving. So I went to this drop zone, um, and I I was quite new to the drop zone, quite new to wingsuiting, and I jumped out of the plane and I opened my wing too soon and nearly hit the tail of the plane.
Oh.
And because she was the instructor, she was the one told to go and sort out this Englishman that's about to destroy the £2 million plane. So I got a talking to, and it went from there. So
Wow. Is people? I think people sort of. I know they sort of think that wingsuit flying is difficult, but I don't think they realise the complexity of stepping up suits and stuff. I remember I had I think I had 4 wingsuit skydives, and I was doing I went to America for 9 days, and I just stayed a year, so I had like 4 wingsuit skydives, and then we went to. So I jumped like a phantom, like a small suit first of all, and then so we went to Paris, and my buddies are like, "Listen, I got a wingsuit you can borrow. You can just use this Ghost. How many wingsuit skydives have you got?" And I was like, "Well, I've got like 4, but I've got like 500 skydives." They're like, "What do you think?" I was like, "Well, I'll jump it. I'll jump it." And so like, okay, cool. So we go. So the first flight on this Ghost is like a 8-man formation flight. They're all on like big suits. So I was like, "Yeah, wicked." They're like, "You go out first." I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I exit, open a bit soon, but luckily avoid the plane, but just tumble straight away. And all I can see is them all just coming out, just piling out the plane. I just keep tumbling, spin. GoPro comes off my head, like I must have hit it with something. So GoPro's falling off my head. So I didn't even get a video of it. I lost that. Yeah. And then they were like, "How'd you find that suit?" I was like, "It's tricky, but I'll give it another go." So I exited with it again. I flew it perfect the second time. I was like, "Man, that's different, really different." So I think people think you just jump out the plane and hold your suit open and you're flying.
Yeah. So the first time I went wingsuit skydiving, I only had 100 skydives, and I know now I rushed into it. Like I took another 100 skydives until I got a wingsuit back on, but it was a baby wingsuit. Like it didn't even have a full arm. It had like half an arm, so you held them on like this. So I jumped out with the instructor, and he said, "I'm just going to be behind you the whole way. Just fly normally, fly a pattern." And we went through some clouds, and I started feeling some turbulence, and I was like rocking backwards and forwards to the point where I started doing cartwheels, literally just going like that. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Till it sped up, and my ditto was going for the altitude, so finally pulled. But I pulled as I was doing a cartwheel, so I did a flip through the risers. So now my risers are twisted. So I landed like miles away in a field somewhere. And I got back and I thought, I'm going to get a talking to from this coach now. And he said, "Oh, man, your flight looked really good, but I lost you when I went through the clouds. So I thought it would be safe if we just stayed apart." And he was like, how was it? Like, did it go smoothly apart from landing off? And I was like, yeah, really good, mate. Let's do level 2. I think I did 2 more flights. I was like, no, I'm not. This is too much for me. This is, yeah.
That's awesome.
But it's so true what you say. Like people look at it and like, "Oh, that's easy. Just jump out and fly." But I think a lot of people ask me the question, what are the chances if I, with no experience, got a wingsuit on, jumped off a cliff? What are the chances? And somebody did this. I think it was last year. It was a French Foreign Legion guy. And he was obviously a little bit tapped. He thought he could get away with it. Put on the biggest suit he could. Jumped a cliff in Italy, and that was it. One job done. Make a hole in the ground. So.
I can't see that you're going to be able to probably fly a tracking suit on your first ever attempt off of it. So to put on something like a Freak or something, you're like, come on, like. But I'm more shocked that that's not a story about a Russian than I am this. Like, most of the crazy stories I've heard about base jumping, from me base jumping, most of the crazy stuff I've seen is Russian. So that's what shocks me most about that story.
Yeah. Well, so there was a Ukrainian that was on that thought he could do the same. Just buy, not wingsuit, but thought he could buy a rig on eBay.
Yeah.
Apparently it came packed, so he was like, "Oh, quid's in. Like I don't have to learn how to pack." One jump, it was from a building, and that was it. That was game over. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think people. I mean, obviously, people understand base is dangerous, but I think also it like, oh, well, you jump off a building and throw this, and like the amount of people who you talk to and you start talking to them, and they think that you pull a lever to fire a canopy or something, and you're like, this no, you really need to go and get a train. They're like, yeah, but I'll just jump and I'll pull the lever, and I'm like, you definitely need
pull
to
the lever. Yeah. Well, the same with wingsuit. The amount of people that think you land a wingsuit.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Gary did it into the boxes, but you're like, even talking to him about that jump, like he said, he didn't know he was going to do like land in the boxes until like he was sub pulling level. He said all the time he was thinking, this might not work, this might not work. So even like top experienced guys are like, yeah, this is stupid. So when you get the public, are like, oh, so how'd you land it? Like with a parachute. Yeah, it's nuts. It is nuts.
There was a video for I think it was like a aftershave company called World of Wingman or something like that, and they faked a video of somebody landing in water.
Yes, I remember that video.
You can tell it's fake. Like if you spent a few minutes thinking about it, you'd be like, yeah, that's fake. They cut from the flight to landing the water, and you don't actually see the impact or anything. You're like, come on. But so many people thought that was genuine, and like, oh yeah, what about the guy who landed in the water? I'm like, no, that didn't happen. It definitely didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean,
there's been a few other people that survived, like into trees, into snow. It's probably about 4 people that unintentionally have landed the wingsuit and survived, and then another handful that survived, a while before they paid the full price.
There's probably more people who have died under a perfectly good canopy than have survived.
Oh, sure.
Not, like even when it all goes absolutely perfectly, people still die. So the fact that you're thinking you can land a wingsuit, it's. I mean, they're the outliers. They're the people who are never going to do it twice. It's not like, oh, I got away with that. I'll try that next time.
Yeah. So there was a rumor going that Jeb Corliss was putting like $1.5 million into making a ramp that met his glide ratio, so he could run it out in the wingsuit and like just like kind of like a big mega ramp on the skateboard, just like really smoothly hit the landing and then just run it out into, I don't know, foam or whatever. And then Gary Connolly came along and was just like, make me 50,000 cardboard boxes, I'll land in them. So he won that race.
Yeah, definitely. It's I was talking. Me and Gary were talking about a project in Bristol as well, but it got shut down. But because Jamie Flynn was the cameraman on the cardboard boxes, and I've done one of these with Jamie. He's a good friend of mine, Jamie Flynn. So he did a podcast with him.
Jamie.
Really well. Yeah. So him and I met during my crazy fucking year in America, and so we jumped Turkey Boogie a lot, and then we jumped all I would just be traveling, and if he was in America or Canada, we'd hit each other. We went to the Chief. We jumped the Chief together in Vancouver. And have you jumped the Chief? In Squamish, yeah.
No, man, I haven't been over that way. I've been meaning
it's got possibly the best landing opportunity ever. It's like a massive truck lay-by. So, I mean, I like low urban stuff. So I've landed in between cars in San Diego, like just, usual low urban stuff. So this has got...
What building did you jump in San Diego?
The one that everyone jumped around by the homeless people.
Yeah. Yes.
Landed in between tents.
You landed all the homeless people and cracked, just like, oh, God has arrived.
Yeah, just waiting in between police vehicles, jump off, and then you've just got loads of homeless people cheering you on. Yeah, so I jumped that one a few times. But yeah, we were in Squamish in that this landing's probably 200 meters long by 50 meters wide. It's just a massive truck label. You're like, oh, this is perfect. And I catch my corner set out on the only lamppost I should never have been there. Just caught my corner cell and just like wrapped around the lamppost like that. And
Shit.
Jamie's got this little clip. He comes in and lands after me, and he looks up. He's like, "What? Who would land there?" I'm like hanging on the lamppost. I had to pull a van over so I could lower myself on. He's like, "Who would land there?" I was like, "Fuck me." Yeah, Jamie's a
best landing spot. Yeah, I did an urban jump the other day, well, a while ago in, where was it, Birmingham, and my friend landed, but his canopy drooped over a lamppost, so like nothing was damaged, but you're stuck now because like I think he had to cut a few lines or something to get out. Yeah, like the quick getaway is completely ruined because you're like.
You touched earlier that you are former military. I'm guessing because you were Marine, that didn't lead to any jumping. So what was like the transition? What made you think like, oh yeah, actually, this is what I want to do? Did you see base and think that's where I want to go, or were you just like, oh, I'd like to jump out of a plane?
Yeah, it was. I started skydiving just before I joined the military, so even during training, I was like nipping away at weekends to get jumps done, and while everyone else was having a weekend of rest with their missus, I was off to Italy and Spain for the weekend and stuff. So it kind of happened alongside the military, but skydiving was a means to the end for me of base jumping. I never really wanted to continue skydiving. But I suppose it all came from climbing. Like I've been climbing for a lot longer than I've been jumping, and just the places where I've climbed, I've always seen base jumpers. So like in Tonsai in Thailand, it's a really famous climbing spot, but also after KL, everyone heads to Tonsai to jump. And then Italy, I did a big wall route where I was like sleeping on the wall at 500 meters up on like a little ledge, and like 5 a.m. getting wingsuiters past me, like a wake up call. Like it was like yeah, that's definitely on the list now.
I don't know who I'd rather be in that scenario, the wingsuit or the guy seeing them fly past, because that's an amazing perspective of wingsuit when you're that close and they're coming by. And I think I'd rather be the guy watching.
Yeah, like the first few that went past, like we just heard the noise and we're like, what's going on? Like, and it was, yeah, like you must know Brento. Like Brento's not a good place to learn. Like it's a student friendly exit. So having jumped that place 100 times, I think I'd much rather be, in the unique position halfway up a wall watching people jump past you now. It was pretty cool for sure. But yeah, I jumped a little bit with the military over the years, like no military jumps, but for competitions and displays and adventure training and stuff like that. So it definitely helped. But also going on deployment, not in Afghan. I didn't take my base rig to Afghan, but on ship and training around the world, I always took my base rig. So I managed to jump in some really cool places just because you have a little bit of R&R at the end of your trip. So it was it was pretty. It helped me out,
Yeah, I mean that's obviously. It's weird that a base attracts a lot of military guys, as you obviously know, and training in America and stuff. And you see a lot of guys come through who are military guys. And I don't know, people always assume that it's. I think when you hear, I mean, I'm not a military guy, but I think what people assume is that it's, well, after you've been to a war zone, after you've been you need something else mental and something else crazy. And I'm like, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just that it's an escapism like no other, and it's because for me, base jumping's not a rush for me. People are like, oh, it must be such a rush. I'm like, I like the fact that we've all hiked up a mountain together and we've all chatted and we've all checked each other on exit, and I like the camaraderie side of it. The actual jump, the feeling never gets any better or any worse. But once you exit. So for me, I think that a lot of base jumpers aren't doing anything for the rush. It's more the like the adventure and the I guess for someone like yourself, you can speak to this obviously a lot better than I can. If you've been and seen action in these places like Afghan and something, when you come to do you're base jumping, I guess it's more just being in that mental space of it not being an adrenaline rush, not being crazy, not being hectic. It's just the mental, like, it's probably just the deep breath that you get in between the chaos. If that
Yeah,
makes
man,
sense.
for sure. Yeah, you're so right there, man. Like the amount of times where I've, and not to say that all jumps are, super calm and it's just
Yeah.
nice to be jumping. Like some definitely are a rush, but that's normally when things go wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be that rush either. Like I teach a few courses each year, and like if you got a student that's on the exit point trying to psych himself up and like, come on, yeah, it's like it's not the place to be. Like that's not the sort of frame of mind that you want to be in to be doing something. You want your mind completely clear, you're just focused on the job, and when you're calm and relaxed, that's when it's good to jump. And but it's definitely a hard one. There are some jumps where you're buzzing. That is pretty full on.
So are we? Is
I
wing?
think for me, I like the challenge, of mitigating that risk.
Yeah.
That's as you say, the camaraderie and everything is it's all part of it, and the journey to get to the exit point. But it's for me trying to find a jump or trying to find a challenge, and you're like to begin with, yeah, that's pretty full on. But then you do like the training and get to the skill level where you can, pull it off safely.
Yeah. So Jeff Shapiro was saying. Jeff Shapiro came on here, and Jeff was saying that for him, some of his best exits are just by his house, undiscovered. He just goes for a walk, finds it, looks at it a couple of times, goes back, gets his rig, goes up on his own, never records it, never tells anyone, just does it because it's more I've calculated everything myself. I've calculated the landing. I've checked wind direction, scoped it on Google Earth and stuff. He said, and it's just the challenge of I can hike here and I can exit where someone's probably never exited before, and it's just really personal to me. And then that takes away the crazy. I mean, lots of people who are the crazy guys usually get weeded out or end up hurt. So, but then
Not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. We know that, but from the outside looking in, people. I mean, it's the same with MMA. Like people think you're crazy because you fight in a cage, and it's like what you're not seeing is the hours of work in a gym preparing for all different scenarios. If I'm on my back in this position, if I'm on my front in this position, if I'm stood up here, and if I'm and that's what people don't really see. I think people think that base jumpers and adventure athletes turn up to a crazy place, do a crazy thing, that's it, go home and go, woo, we're crazy, dude, and that, know. But then when they speak, like,
no, 100%.
Yeah,
people don't see that behind the scenes. It's like an Instagram lifestyle where you just like you see what's in front of you for 10 seconds and you make judgments on that. But I mean, every time I something goes in the media, in the Daily Fail, love that sort of shit. But every time it goes into newspapers and stuff, I always try and make a point of like how much training and how much effort goes into it, because straight away you're going to get this backlash, which obviously I just look over, it goes over my head now, but you're going to get this backlash of people saying like, armchair warriors just, the strain on the NHS when he breaks himself, or think of the rescuers that are going to have to get him. And it's not a stunt, the amount of time that we spent preparing for these things. It's
yeah. And I mean, the thing is so how many times have you had to have air rescue come out and take you off a mountain for an injury or anything?
I make it a point that I'm only ever going to call air rescue if I am about to die. Like I've got myself out of some tricky situations. So
like none, right? But how many people, how many hikers are getting lost on the mountains? They're not even injured and they're calling in air rescue or search and rescue just because they're lost in the fog or they're in altitude that they're scared they're not going to get down from. So I think it's the outside perception, but at the same time, it's not up to you to justify or to satisfy other people's perception. You just do what you do. You know how calculated you're being, and then hopefully people on the outside listen to things like this and they think, actually, that seems not mental.
That's why I try and put that across. Yeah, I've got a lot of friends that are mountain rescue volunteers or paramedics and stuff, and they always, I ask them these questions, because I want to hear it from their point of view. I asked them if I got stuck on a mountain, doing this sport for absolutely no reason. There's no reason for me to be jumping off cliffs.
Yeah.
What is your thought about spending these, the volunteer time and effort and money into coming saving me? And he says the problem that we have is people who are unprepared. As you say, the hikers, the people walking up Ben Nevis with flip flops on. Those are the people that we can avoid. They're not prepared. They don't know what they're doing. But I'd like to think after 7 years of base jumping, I kind of know what I'm doing, and it's as much prepared as I could be. So yeah, exactly. It's a different kettle of fish.
Exactly. So wingsuit base is that's your gig, or you prefer, that's the facet that you, I mean, I like low urban stuff because I like to think I'm James Bond. So it's about sneaking past people, climbing cranes and the picking locks. I love that side of it. And because I paraglide and because I fly birds of prey, I spend a lot of time walking outdoors and spend a lot of time flying off mountains. So wingsuit base is not, I'm not drawn to it so much as I am low urban stuff, not because I'm stupid and I want to jump off the lowest building. I want to pick locks. I want to crawl past security, past
it's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But, man. So, no, I like my jumps are half, like literally half. So like half wingsuiting and half slider down low stuff. So completely love it both. Like the missus just wingsuits.
Yeah.
Just wingsuit base jumps now, so that she only does that. She's not interested in the slider down stuff, but I'm slowly converting her.
I thought you were going to say
like every time we go on a trip. I
thought you were going to say, so I'm happy with that. I'm talking out of her. She can ground crew. You're like, I'm slowly converting her. Get the missus jumping as well.
No, I mean, if you know what you're doing, like if you don't really fuck it up by like putting your bridle through your leg strap or something, like who's died doing slider down? Nobody, mate. Nobody.
I mean,
so like
a bad off heading could possibly kill you, but I mean, slider down exits are generally, if you're switched on, good kit checks, jump with a good partner. They're, I love them because the adventure and they're sneaky and stuff, but I'm not going to use the S word because they're not relatively S in any way, but they, the injuries are not what you would see in wingsuit base, definitely.
No, exactly, man. I just, like, she often takes a PC, like if we're in the middle of a trip, like in some foreign land, and there's like big landing, beautiful cliff, she'll take a PCA. She'll take for the viewers, an assisted parachute opening jump. Like we've done that in like Kenya and Jordan, just like a one-off. And you're not going to get, with a decent body position and wind conditions, you're not going to get enough heading. So I'm like, I think she should do more of those sort of things, to I don't know, just experience these jumps all around the world, the places that we travel. It's tick those countries off,
I completely agree, and it's I love it. It's super exciting. So it's a big part of the sport that she's missing out on if she doesn't. So I agree with you. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's what I feel, man. Yeah. And it just opens a lot more, isn't it?
Yeah. No, exactly. The side of your life that I'm not so familiar with is climbing. I've never really been into climbing. I haven't climbed like a lot. I boulder a bit at the local bouldering center or something. Yeah. And that more comes from time for me because I do so many things. I've not really been into climbing, and people always assume that, oh, do you climb? I'm like, no, I don't, and I feel like I'm cheating by not climbing because all good guys, like all good base jumpers and stuff, they all climb, and I feel like I've missed out on this big thing that I don't do. But you climb is a big part of your life, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's kind of what led to the jumping in the first place, and now being able to combine the two is what really makes, like, it's where my ambition really lies, is like trying to find these climbs that you can only jump if you get to climb them, towers and spires and huge mountain exits where you've got to get your ice axes and climb up these mountains. So it's and then Eva's slowly getting more into this mountaineering side of things as well. So I always think that if I had to choose one, climbing or jumping, I'd choose climbing. And I think climbing's a lot more sustainable. I want to be jumping and climbing forever, but at the moment, things change, and maybe 5 years, 10 years time, I'm like, I can't be jumping anymore. So it's good to have another little sport, another little hobby to look to. But,
so where have you climbed?
Man.
Where have you? What sort of places do you think like? I mean, I've been to Yosemite and stuff, and I've done stuff there, and I've seen climbers there, and I think like that's amazing, So it's nice to know people's like catalog of like, oh, I've got this one, I've hit this, I've climbed this mountain.
Yeah, man. Like, so I do kind of like in base jumping where I do like all the different disciplines, like low stuff, wingsuiting. That's pretty much the two disciplines. I don't track, but I love all jumps. I love all the different types of jumps. But with climbing, I'm not very good, but I do all the different disciplines from bouldering to ice climbing, aid climbing, big wall, multi-pitch sport, trad, mixed climbing. I do a lot of the different disciplines. So but I think for me, when I go to a foreign country, it's really cool to find like a big wall climb that takes maybe 2 days to climb. So it's kind of like the really obscure, weird climbs that probably nobody's done for 50 years, sort of thing. Like, so when we went to Mozambique, we did a climb that had only been done once before. Malawi did the longest rock climb in Africa, which I think was 1,700 meters. Took us 2 days. Wow. And then alpine climbing, things like the north face of the Eiger. At the moment, I've got a project that's been lasted 5 years so far, so we'll see if it gets done soon. But I've got 2 left. So the idea is to climb this. There's 6 great north faces of the Alps, which are like 6 famous north faces, and they've all got jumps on them apart from one. But nobody's climbed them and jumped them. So it's things like the Eiger, the Matterhorn, Grand Duras, Pisbadil, Treshim, and missing one. Yeah, missing one. But there's 6. And they're all like really quite technical climbs, and it's quite strange. Like the north face of the Eiger was so far for me the most challenging climb, but it's the easiest jump. So it's a weird link up between them, of trying to find the conditions to jump in, and it's been good, but 2 left, so we'll see if I can get them done next year.
I'm not brilliant with heights, which people find weird because I base jump or skydive.
It's a common thing though, right?
Yeah. So for me, the scariest bit is sleeping on the wall, like to sleep on a wall on like a makeshift ledge. Like even now, like I can feel my hands getting sweaty thinking about sleeping on a makeshift ledge. I mean, obviously it's just because I have no experience of it, and I know the more you do it and the more you rely on rely on stuff, you'll get better with it. But it freaks me out. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've probably been on the ledge, and like the wind's picked up or something, and you can like the wind's rattling the side, and you're like, I just imagine being like, I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to be awake all night.
I tell you what though, if you're tired, you'll sleep anywhere. Like if you're tired enough. I think I learned that from the military. Just like you can sleep anywhere, but yeah, you have to be at that point where you just like you're too tired to care.
I know what you mean. Go ahead, mate. So you keep saying military. Where did you serve, mate? How long were you in?
I left 3 years ago now. Served for about 7 years. And I don't regret leaving, but I definitely miss it, But it was time for me to be self-employed, do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I haven't looked back at that sort of aspect of it. Like But yeah, I felt like I had a really good career. Did a little stint in Afghan, then joined the mountain leader branch. Went into a reconnaissance troop, and it's just, people join the military because they want to see action.
Yeah, yeah.
It's you know it's how it is. It's the recruitment rates go through the roof when something's kicking off. And I joined as Afghan was kicking off, and when everything's quiet again, they have problems recruiting people, and everyone's leaving because they don't see anything. Your job, if nothing's happening, is training.
Yeah.
So it's, you want to put that training to use. But yeah, I did a year, well, 6 months, but a year draft on a HMS Protector, which is an ice breaking ship that goes down to the Antarctica. So that was an amazing experience that I kind of won't have the opportunity to do as a civilian, because it would cost a lot of money to go to Antarctica. But yeah, I had my base rig with me, so I'm a climbing rig, and we'd resupply in South Africa or Rio or Uruguay and Chile. So I got to jump in some really cool places as well. So that was a really good trip to finish off my career, really.
It's like
Yeah.
you've had like the best experience of being in the military, really, from what the signs of it are. Like,
Yeah.
you've seen some action, you've covered the bits there, you've gone on adventures with it, you've traveled, you've come out like you're still fully able. Like, it seems to me,
Yeah.
like, from the outside, you've had the best experience, because like it's something that I thought about early on in my life, and then my girlfriend at the time got pregnant when I was like 17, and I was like, oh, I'm not going
Mm.
off to war now when I got a daughter to think about. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hear like people like your stories, and you just think like that. You've made the most of it. Like, you've done the best, and you've come
Yeah.
up with the best.
I think you gotta, yeah, you gotta make the most of it, don't you? Like, the
Yeah,
opportunities are there, so you gotta step up and get what you want. I remember I did near the end when I was working in Scotland. We had to take some hierarchy, some London bigwigs out on the mountain. I remember chatting to one, and he was asking me about my career, like what I had done, and he said, "Oh, you've had a really lucky career." And I said, "It's not luck, like, you put in and you get out. Like,
yeah,
what you put in is what you get out. So it's not luck at all. Like, I made these things happen. People don't come up to me and just say, 'This is what you're doing. Well done.' Like, you put effort in. And I was
exactly.
almost insulted. Like, what do you mean good, like, luck career? Like,
Yeah,
it's almost like I hadn't worked at all for, to get into the mountain leader branch, or to get into this commando unit that went to Afghan. It's like just happened, mate. I was like,
yeah. I think
nah.
people think
But I
that.
suppose that's like fighting, like going into the cage. Like, I'm sure people say, wish you luck, but as if to say that all your training and all your knowledge and experience just counts for nothing, and it's luck that's going to get you through. It's like,
If I had to rely on luck, all I'd do is work on my cardio. If I was relying on luck, I'd just
yeah,
get fit. People. I mean, I've had quite a good career in MMA, in that I've travelled everywhere. I've cornered at every big show. I've been at every big show. I've fought on the big shows, but then people are, oh, you've been lucky. I'm like, well, not really. I started a gym and invested all my money that I had into a gym,
there you go, man.
developed a fight team and fought all over the world. The gym lost to me
Really.
thousands and thousands of pounds, but in that meantime, I travelled all over the world, took the most of the opportunities I had, and the fight team did the same. So luck, luck didn't come into it in any way, shape, or form, because someone rings
Yeah,
you with an opportunity. You either say yes or no. There's no luck up until the point the phone rings is where the luck ends.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
man. I've got a lot to say about luck, because I just don't think it has any place. Like, you know, every decision you make has a knock-on effect, whether that's like a subliminal or subconscious sort of decision or message, or something that you're taking in. So even something that you might think is luck, I don't think at the end of the day is. And like every accident in base jumping, I can't think of one that's not human error. or because human error is decision making.
Yeah.
So my friend had line twists, and he had the option of like rapids, landing in these rapids, which was not going to be a good result. Landing in power lines, obviously not good, or landing in a tree. He landed in the tree, broke both his ankles, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's really good luck that you landed there." And I'm thinking, it's not like, even if it's split-second decision making, he made the choice to land in that tree, and he broke his ankles instead of drowning or getting fried by the pylon. So it's like I don't think luck has as much to play.
And even deeper than that, it's the preparation that's gone in the many hundreds of jumps before. This allowed time to slow down that little bit more, and you just get that sense of flow.
100%.
And it's just like, shit's going wrong. What's around me? Look left, look right, look ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
No object fixation. I know that's power lines. Left riser, steer away from it. Right, I've got tree or rapids. I definitely don't want rapids. Boom. And that happens so quickly because you've allowed yourself to train for it. Hundreds. The guys who would just jump off, fly a wingsuit, wee, are eventually going to have an accident. Like, I guess you've been flying a wingsuit, like proximity or otherwise or something, all the time, been looking like, okay, if that went wrong, I could land there now. That's a nice little point there. Or you're not just there gliding to the bottom. You're all the time thinking about, if this went wrong now, those trees there would be perfect. Or those trees aren't very good because of this. Or there's all those times that you've done that allow time to slow down. So the use of the word luck, I think, is, like you say, I'd agree with you. It's massively overused and discredits the work and training.
Yeah, no, you're right. Discredits. Yeah, it's I just, every time somebody says, good luck for that, and I've now.
Oh man, you got me. Oh, you're back.
I'm back.
I was about to go downstairs and kick everyone off the internet, but you're back.
No, mate, that'd be my end. So it's 5 o'clock. Everyone's off shift, and they're about to watch some porn instead. But yeah, I think instead of wishing somebody luck, it should be, it's a bit of a mouthful, but I wish that your experience pays off. That sort of should be more like that than wishing me luck. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I completely agree. So I've known about you and followed your career for a little while now, but I think one of the things that probably rose you to prominence is probably your UK, the Scottish thing, right? So that, especially at home, maybe not around the world, but at home, that's quite a big deal. So do you want to tell people about that project? And is Exit Point, is that the video that goes accompanied with that? Is that which one of
No,
your...
I didn't really do a film. Yeah, I had a few guys that wanted to make like a little documentary about the Scottish thing, but it was really, really technical for me, and I didn't really want the pressure. I didn't want any pressure, because I flew from Switzerland to Scotland just to do that jump, and I didn't even know whether it would work. So it was a really big time investment to get there, hike up the mountain with a few friends, and I might have just got there and lasered it and just been like, nah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And there was there's a lot of pressure already, because I really wanted to do the first wingsuit jump, and I really wanted the numbers to make sense, and if those numbers were borderline, am I more pressured into doing the jump anyway because I'm there? So it was a big fucking moment for me, to be honest. So I'm glad I didn't have guys there with 5 cameras around me filming. Just had one friend with his phone and another really good friend who's a photographer who I've worked with before, and he's there's no pressure with him. So it was a really good setup. But it was I count the lockdown and kind of the corona situation for actually helping me out there, because normally in the summer I'm off around the world doing climbing trips, expeditions and stuff, but there was none of that this year. So it was really just focusing on jumping and improving my consistency in the starts and the flights. And I got to a point where I was confident enough to do this technical jump in Scotland. So it's and it went without any glitches, and it went a lot better than I thought it would. I had a lot more margin for error than I calculated. So yeah.
So for people who are listening and aren't up on wingsuit, it's the first wingsuit exit in the UK on UK soil from yeah, I think it's just the first wingsuit exit, isn't it, on UK soil? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've jumped from an antenna before,
Yeah.
in a wingsuit, but it's not a flight. It's not a it's a bit of a one-off.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to find a cliff, and yeah, nobody's ever done that before. And it's so I did a little blog about it because you got a lot of questions from people that don't really know the wingsuit and what's involved. So you kind of need 3 or 4 things to make a wingsuit exit happen. You need the overall vertical height to start the wingsuit. You need terrain underneath it to be steep enough to fly over. You need landing, and then you need an overall height from exit to landing. And if that anything below 500 meters for an overall flight isn't really a wingsuit jump. It's very short. You're going to get maybe 20-30 seconds of wingsuit flight from it. So it's still a wingsuit jump, but it's a token effort. So it was nice to find this jump in Scotland that ticked all those boxes. So it was and maybe there are more out there. It's kind of opened my eyes a bit.
What was the scouting process? Did you pass it and you thought, oh, hang on a minute, or did you start looking specifically for the jump? Was it something you'd targeted? You wanted to be the first person to do one on home soil? How did it come about?
Yeah, so I'm always looking for firsts. So I've done the first wingsuit flight in Vietnam and the first ski base in the UK, and so I love that sort of process of being the first. But this one came about because a friend of mine jumped it without wingsuit. So he had like a basic measurement of how high the initial cliff was. Mm-hmm. So I asked him for that information. And then on Google Earth and maps, you can kind of calculate how steep the talus is, the ground underneath, and how far the landing is. And I thought it might go. So it's kind of worth the trip. And then I got there. We lasered it properly. I didn't take my base rig up at all. I just wanted it to be like a reconnaissance day, just to kind of get your mind in the get your mind in the jump and not have the pressure of having your rig there. So I lasered it all up and spent the night just like crunching numbers, trying to figure out how much margin for error I would have. And and then went back the next day and got it done.
And all went exactly as planned. Went nice and easy.
Yeah, it was probably the best start in a wingsuit I'd ever had. Yeah. Had really good conditions. There was a little bit of thermals, headwind, which always helps in a wingsuit. Landing was it just went really, really smoothly. My friend was in the gully below, and he was filming, and he was expecting me to like be flying right past him because that's all I'd have. The margins were so tight, he thought I'd be flying past him because that's the only option. But I was well above him. And he was like, "Oh, wouldn't you fly past me?" And I was like, "Mate, I just wanted to fly as high as I could and get out there as soon as I could. Just as big a margin as possible." So,
you don't want to be. You want to be the first person. You want to be the first person who does a wingsuit base jump in the UK, but you want to be the first person who survives a wingsuit base jump in the UK.
Who can repeat it? Yeah, exactly, man.
What suit you jump in?
So I'm supported by Phoenix Fly. So I had Phoenix Fly Alpine, which is one of their big high glide suits. But it was it's the same like when I started wingsuit skydiving. Like I stopped flying that suit for a while just because I thought I wasn't ready. Well, I knew I wasn't ready. It's a beast, man. And I had to put it in the closet for 2 years. Wow. And then this year, because of Corona and stuff, I had time and I was getting lots of jumps in, put it back on, felt confident, and started training in it. So it was yeah, it's good to know where your limits are, and think, take a step back and train properly.
Yeah, I mean, do you ever so if you've had some time off, say I'd say there's a few months between jumps and stuff, do you often think, well, I'll just step down a suit for the minute and get myself back, and so that my headspace is a bit clearer and I'm not thinking like the thought process isn't so much in the jump of, oh, I'm flying the big
Yeah,
suit, things can't go wrong. Do you step back for a minute and fly something a bit smaller and then think, well, I can step back up to this in a month or so?
I don't change suits, but I'd change the exit for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go straight onto a non-forgiving jump. But I think most of the time it's better to fly the suit that you know the most. And if
Yeah.
that's the big suit that you've got, then I go with that. But obviously, yeah, I'd start the season on something nice and gentle, and not not something that's going to be rubbing rocks in my face as I fly down. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
So these little videos that you have on YouTube, little like they're like film festival films, right? Short films, I guess is the best way to describe them. Talk to me
yeah.
about them, mate. What was the inspiration for them? What are you hoping to achieve from them? And what do they feature for people when they watch them?
So the main one that I've done recently was for my main sponsor, which is Yachtnar. It's like an English outdoor clothing brand, like really high quality kit. And every year they make a series of short films, to promote their products. And Tommy always comes to me and says, what do you want to film this year? And I've always got ideas in the back of my head. So this recent one is called the Eiger Playground, and it's really just looking at the Eiger and my sort of relationship with the Eiger. 'Cause the Eiger's a crazy mountain, man. It's got everything on there. It's got the wingsuit exits. There's three of them. It's got this really infamous North Face alpine climbing that it's got a whole load of history on it, and there's one scary climb, and then it's got the west flank that you can ski down, the south face with a big wall climb on it. It's got a lot to offer, so I spent quite a bit of time on the Eiger, and seen and been around some disasters on the Eiger. So it's a pretty cool mountain. So
Yeah,
it's just a short film that looks into that really.
it's
But
like
I really enjoy
the fact that you said
telling
like your
these
relationship. You
stories.
said like your relationship with the Eiger. Like I think like people who are listening won't make it sounds cliche and a bit, but people maybe won't appreciate like it becomes like that. And not I mean obviously I can't speak from a week, but with paragliding is the same. I have certain sites that when I go paragliding,
Really, yeah.
like you're just like this when I the way just the launch off, the which way you fly and what you get to see. And I mean obviously you spend a lot more time under a paraglider, so I might take off and spend 9 hours under my paraglider flying. But like
But you
it's
do
where the house
cross country
thermal.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my big cross country and competition
Mm.
stuff. That's my big passion. That's really put pay to a lot of my base jumping. Is I think to myself like I could get out paragliding. I go out paragliding, and I
Yeah.
might fly 150, 200 kilometers or something. But you
That's
sort of
insane, man.
yeah, you get like a relationship though with where you're taking off, where the house thermal is, and oh, I climbed out of here
Yeah.
last time. Will it work? And you do get the cliche thing of relationship. I can understand that from a mild point of view. So from someone who's intimately face to face with the north face of the Eiger for a big period of time, or exiting off of wherever on the Eiger, I can understand. I can perfectly understand there is a relationship with that mountain.
Yeah, man. I was a little bit hesitant to say that word, but you're right. It definitely is a relationship. The amount of nights I've spent on there, and yeah, it's not a forgiving mountain for sure. There's been a lot of disasters on there, so it definitely is a relationship. But yeah,
Are,
stunning place, man. It's
are you injury free from base and climbing and stuff?
oh yeah, No, I take pride in saying that. It's I've got nearly 800 base jumps, and the worst. I say injury free because no injury has stopped me from jumping. I've had nicks on the finger and a bruised heel, but nothing serious enough to stop me jumping the next day. So I like to think that all the decisions I've made have been good enough to keep me going. And I think that's what I say instead of like good luck. I say like make good decisions. Like I say that to all my students. When they go home and start jumping by themselves, I'm like, not good luck. I'm like, just make good decisions. If I'm coaching somebody over a text message and they're trying to figure out whether this jump's suitable for them, I'm just like, I'll give you as much information as you need, but at the end of the day, just make good decisions.
Somebody once said to me earlier on in base jumping, they once said, it might not be the right decision not to jump, but it won't be the wrong one. And I was like, that's so poignant. Like, if I don't jump, it might not be the right decision. I might have jumped, everything was perfect, the conditions were right. I questioned myself and I not jumped, and it wasn't the right decision to jump, but certainly wasn't the wrong one. Like I've lived to come back another day and jump.
Yeah. I did. I think it was about 2 months ago. I was on the Matterhorn. The hut wasn't open, so we did like a non-stop push from the valley floor. We summited about 10 o'clock in the morning after climbing all night, and the wind was really, really good all throughout the whole climb. And we got to the summit, and it was just blowing. And we wanted a wingsuit off I think it's the east face, and then fly back around to Italy. So we had all our gear with us, like it was so heavy, and we finally got to the summit, blowing too much, and straight away we said, nah, it's not going to happen. Just, call it off. Yeah. And as we were saying that, 2 of our friends had just climbed from the Swiss side and was gearing up in their wingsuits, and we were about to jump. Like, completely coincidental, we just bumped into these 2 friends of ours, and we were like, it's pretty windy, and they're like, yeah, but we're confident, we're good, we're going to jump. And for us to say we're not going to jump on top of seeing 2 people that had jumped already, it was really, really hard. But for me, as you say, it's never a wrong decision to go back down. It just made it so much harder that we had, another 12 hours to get back down to the car. We had heavy packs, and we had just seen two people jump. But for us, it was the safer call. So people have a risk management, don't they? So it's not to say that they're wrong. It's just to say that not for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you start doing this, you learn from other people making mistakes, and a lot of them fatal mistakes. Like, I never want to be an example of what not to do. I always thought that, I don't want to be the example of what not to do. When I'm fighting, if I make a mistake, I might get elbowed in the face, I might get chinned, like I could get submitted or something. I've made terrible mistakes in fights and lost fights in the first minute, where I'm literally afterwards like, what the fuck happened? Like, just made stupid mistakes. You don't make stupid mistakes. And if you do make a stupid mistake while doing a wingsuit base jump, you're going to be the next story that's told when people walk up that mountain. Like, everybody wanted to walk away, but this guy jumped. Yeah, don't be the story that people learn from,
No, exactly, man. I want my jumping to be sustainable, A lot of people charge hard for a year and then get out, or charge hard and they don't have the opportunity to get out because they charge too hard. I just want to be, that flat line, consistent, fucking stay in for as long as possible, keep on going.
And I think that's where the line for you would be adventure athlete, not extreme athlete, because the extremity
I like it, yeah.
The extremity is the bit where, if I'm an extreme athlete, I have to be more extreme than this person, and I have to be Travis Pastrana jumping without a parachute, and then extreme becomes, well, you're not extreme because so-and-so did this, and you're constant. But sponsors don't invest in extreme. They invest in...
Right.
Yeah, they want to invest in you because, I mean, obviously speaking with you, I know why people want to invest in you, because talking to you, you're intelligent, you're switched on, you've used all your background, military, etc., and you've put it into what you do now. And obviously, you for me are a prime example of someone who I would invest in if I had a company that could benefit. But that's what companies are looking
Thank
for.
you very much.
Unfortunately,
Cheers, man.
unfortunately,
The
I've got
biggest compliment
nothing
I've got
to.
in a while.
I got nothing to invest, unfortunately. But if I did, you're the guy. But no, I think
Thank you very much.
you can have everything I don't have.
get I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah, no, climbing companies don't want anything to do with wingsuiting anymore. They've had so many of their athletes die, and it's like what I like to try and do now is to try and find like unique and creative projects. Not I can fly this close to this mountain or do this thing that's super super dangerous, because that's not sustainable. It's trying to find those unique sort of niche things, and using all my skills from skiing and climbing and military and wingsuiting and base jumping to try and find that unique, sort of project to get done. And that's it's paying off so far.
Yeah, I mean, I got like I have friends who have died filming films for big companies, Red Bull and people and stuff. And what happens is Red Bull I'll use Red Bull for the sake of just not having another company, but I by no means mean that it's Red Bull all the time. I'm just going to use it. But say Red Bull invest 100 grand in a project and the guy dies halfway through. Red Bull don't put the video out; they lose their money. So that's not the investment they're looking for. They're looking for an investment in the longevity. They're going to say, I'm going to release the video and we're going to earn money back off the 100 grand.
Yeah. For me, it's like I've definitely learned over the years of how to deal with like being filmed and being in productions and stuff. It definitely puts an extra layer of pressure on, but it definitely has killed. Not Red Bull, but there are definitely others that people have died on the shoot, and it's and you wonder, is it the pressure of being in that shoot, or is it something that we're going to do anyway, but it just so happens that cameras are there. So it's the one and only time I had like a serious accident. I didn't have any injuries from it. I walked away, but it was definitely because my ego got the better of me because there were cameras all around. So and that was year 3 of jumping. So I think the fresher you are and the newer you are and the more keen you are to impress, the more likely you're gonna make a mistake, for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing less impressive than fucking dying doing something stupid. There's just nothing, and I'm guessing so. I have this a lot with being a coach for fighting and stuff. I find that people want to fight MMA or want to be a cage fighter, and they want to do all this stuff because they want their mates to say, "Oh, you're a pro cage fighter, you do this," or they want their mates to say, like, "Oh, awesome, you fought here," and fighting's all.
Do you see that a lot? You see people coming in because of an ego sort of trip.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I wouldn't even really say it's an ego thing. They enjoy it. They do enjoy it, but you can tell that they want to post a picture of them training, or they want to be they want their mates to be at the venue clapping them, and you'll get one fight show that's televised, another fight show that's not. This fight show's offering them more money and a better opponent, but they want to take this one because it's televised. And I'm like, what you don't understand is this has to be about you, because you are losing brain cells, you're being punched in the head. Like we now know the long-term effects of CTE and stuff. Like likes on Instagram are not going to give you back what this sport's going to take from you. So you have to be able to.
Man, that's the whole other way of looking at it.
So that's what leads me to you. I mean, I'm guessing your motivation. The reason I fight is because, or I did fight. I'm possibly retired. The reason I did fight was because when I went to bed on the night time and I thought about not fighting, I wouldn't sleep. I just wouldn't. It wouldn't make a difference about money or if it was on TV or anything. It was just, I've dedicated my life to this. I want to get in a cage and fight another man, not because I want to hurt him, but I want to test what I've done against the guy who's who's done the same, hopefully, and see where it's led me. And I guess my question to you is, like, your motivation, I'm assuming, is your own personal achievement, not to make the most money from this sponsor and be pushed in this direction or get to 5 million followers or anything. It's simply about, this is the stuff that motivates me because it's challenging to me, is what I'm asking if that's sort of what it is for you.
Yeah, man, when you say personal achievement, that's 100% what it is, coming up with a project for me and then being able to pull that off, that's the achievement. I mean sponsorship and all that definitely helps. For me, I've got to have that, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do these things as much as I can to get consistent and pull off this achievement. But I think base jumping being so new, for me, I can actually, I keep on dabbling with the idea of going to getting into fighting, getting into BJJ or getting into kickboxing, going on to one of these camps in Thailand. Like I love the idea of it, and a lot of my friends fight and have fought, or I go to fight nights with them or whatever, and I love the idea, but there's no way I could get good at it with the time that I have and the the age that I am and the other hobbies that I have and the dedication that you'd need. So I think for me, with base jumping being so new, there are still new things to do in this world for base jumping, like the first one in Vietnam or the first one in the UK, that I can still tick those boxes and I can still.
Well, also what you'll do, mate, is you'll become, something will break along the way when you spread yourself too thin. So the last thing you want to break is anything to do with your base jumping, and also along with that is anything to do with your climbing, etc. You don't want any part of that to break in any way, shape, or form, because the consequences are so high. So the one area where you could leave it to break would be fighting. Let's say, well, if anyone wanted to come into your sport and do it half-heartedly, you'd be like, oh, don't even bother, you're going to get fucking injured, you're going to hurt. And it's the same thing. Now, on the back of that, I would say definitely start jiu-jitsu, even if you can go for 6 months because you're at home and you can manage to go twice a week for 6 months, and then you have 3 months off. Yeah. So what? You don't want to go and win the ADCC. You don't want to be the best in the world at it. You just want to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for you. So I would say 100% do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Definitely. It's a chess match where people choke you. That's basically what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. It's incredible. Yeah. And you're quite cerebral, and so I think you would pick it up, and you've got lots of time where you'd be studying moves on a laptop and stuff. But also, you can put it in the closet, and you cannot let it eat into your other sport, which is the consequences are so dire. I mean, if you pick up something like, you said to me, I want to fight, I would do everything I could to talk you out of it, because I would say the commitment you would have to do to fight, either your fighting's going to suffer or your base is going to suffer. If your base suffers, you could die. If your fighting suffers, you're going to lose a fight that you could have won. So, but you can take from
that's it, man. Like, I don't want to do stuff half-heartedly, Like it's. But as you say, if you don't fight, you can get amongst it and still learn stuff. But I think most stuff that I do, I want to do it well, really well, and use it for something. Take it somewhere. But
that's been,
as you say, like two times a week for 6 months. Like at the moment, trying to get the time, just being in one place for 6 months to get that done, I think would be a bit of a struggle at the moment. But,
so what would you consider home life? Do you have like a mortgage and a house and stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a place in Taunton.
Just down the road from me.
Rent out one of the rooms. Sorry, mate.
You're just down the road, really. I'm in Bristol, so.
I know, mate. Yeah, we're gonna have to catch up sometime.
Definitely.
But I live in Geneva in Switzerland with the wife. So I've got this place in Taunton just for for stopovers, just to keep my stuff there and keep the mortgage going. But yeah, I've been this year is the first year I've been like full on based in Switzerland, so getting a lot of climbing and jumping done. But you know, at the moment I'm offshore, so and then we've got a few expeditions planned. January going to Namibia, February going to Kenya, and then yeah, a few more after. Pretty much a trip each month at the moment, so it's not in one place for too long.
Oh, I'm sat here just so jealous, just thinking, oh,
No,
to have a
I
trip,
hate it when people say that. I'm not trying to make people jealous.
just honestly, just to be like, not from being quite nomadic for that year that I lived in, for the year that I lived in America, and also at
Yeah.
home, at home here, I'm always offline birds, off paragliding, off doing this at a paragliding comp there, and people are like, oh, you've got some life, and then I look at people like you, and I'm like, oh, that must be how they look at me. I want to just be,
No.
I want to be going to Namibia and dodging mosquitoes. I want to be scared of malaria, not COVID.
uh, yeah, malaria is a scary one. I'm not taking those pills, but I don't want malaria either. So
You're like catch 22. I
yeah,
Yeah, it does, mate. Honestly, like that lifestyle. Because I'm in the middle of buying a property now, and part of me was like, all the time I keep looking at camper vans on eBay, and I'm like one click
yeah.
away all the time from spending the deposit for the property on a massive camper van and just doing what
Literally
I like.
one. Yeah. Uh, yeah, the van life thing I've never done. Like it's like every base jumper who base jumps for more than like a season, they end up getting there. Especially in Switzerland, you know, it's the easy, cheap way to do it. But for me, I don't know. I've got an estate car, VW Passat, and if I need to, I can sleep in the back of that. So it's got enough space to keep all my kit in, and yeah, it does the job. But
Yeah, there's something
yeah,
also. There's something
maybe one day I'll get that.
the romanticism goes out of it, mate, when you have to poo next to where you cook and there's only a piece of plywood dividing, you know? It's like, yeah, the
Yeah.
romance dies.
My mate had a porta potty in his, like, and it was in the back of the van where he's got like bunk beds, but you know, just one bed, but massive gap underneath, and he pulls out this porta potty. I'm like, mate, there's no dividing screen or anything. It's a porta potty bungeed to the ground. I'm like, no, man, that's not the way to do van life. Like,
No, but there's,
I
I
can't
mean,
do that.
there's an association like dirt bagging with van life, but there's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, I don't want to poo like 2 foot from where I'm sleeping tonight. It's not, yeah, there's a boundary.
Nah,
I'll choose a
not for
cheap B&B.
me.
I'll go for a cheap B&B over that every time.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that's changed for me over the years of dirt bagging. I think, you know, I used to like proper rough it, like, you know, just pasta every night and
Yeah.
sleeping in laybys, and I still definitely sleep in laybys. Like even the wife has warmed up to the idea of sleeping in laybys now. But now and again you need a little bit of comfort, and now and again I'll give myself a little upgrade. But it used to be, yeah, it used to be like full on saving money wherever and whenever I can. But it still is now. Just you know, treat myself every now and again. But,
Yeah. Just a little bit.
yeah.
Being able to brush a. For me, it's blow drying my beard. If I be somewhere where I
Forget
can
that,
put a blow dryer on my beard and have it all soft again, I'm like, I've made it. Oh, I've made it.
man. That's enough. Yeah. I grew my beard out. I think it was last June. I did a sailing trip to Greenland. I hate sailing, but I did a trip to Greenland, and I thought I've got to have a good fisherman beard, you know. And the salt water and everything, it was awful. I hated it by the end of it. Like it was. So now when you're saying like a nice soft beard, I get that because
Yeah.
it was doing my head in.
I'll land after a paragliding trip or something. It's 5 hours, 6 hours under my paraglide. I land, take my helmet off. Everyone lands. They wipe their face with their t-shirts because they're a bit hot. I'm like, Yeah, great. I'm stuck like this for the rest of the day. You can take a comb with you, but it's all the air has been blowing into it. It's all dry and
Yeah.
crunchy, and I'm like the luxury of being
Oh,
able to brush a beard now would be beautiful.
that's what does it. Yeah, my wife hates it. Anything like this. So this only happens when I'm away from home. She calls it facial art. So as soon as I'm back home, it all has to go off. Like she hates it. But I think I'm gonna try and keep it for Africa. Just a little bit. Get one of those safari hats on. Look like an old timer African explorer
You
for a bit.
actually remind me of there used to be a program. It ain't half hot, mum, and
Okay. No, that
you've
one.
never heard of It Ain't Half Hot Mum. It's like a
Nah.
60s TV show or something. It's always on like UK Gold. I don't even know why I
Okay.
know it. It's way before my time. And there was a
Yeah, I was
one of the
about to say
guys.
60s. It's not like.
I don't know why I know it, but one of the guys on there, the main characters, he's got like one of those like beige hats. It's like a dome and
That's
like
what I need. Yeah.
facial hair just like you. You'll be. I can't think of his name, but if you Google it, ain't half hot mum, it'll come up, and I think that you'd pull it
Okay,
off.
I'll give that a Google. So, have you ever seen? I don't know how old you are, but maybe this was a little bit more in our lifetime. The Wild Thornberrys, that kids show.
No.
There was one on there. Also, this he looks like the guy from Ace Ventura, the
Uh,
one where he's with the pet detective one, but he's
yeah,
got one of those plinth hats,
yeah,
safari
yeah.
hats, and a beard like that. Like that's the look I want,
Ace
Victorian style.
Ventura. Ace Ventura is a reference I definitely get. The Wild Thornberrys I'll definitely be googling to see.
Okay.
I'm googling it now so I remember. So it's logged there. I've been hitting the head a lot, so if I don't note it down, I'll forget by like
It has
a
to, it
half
has
hour
to happen
time. It's
now.
gone. Wild Thornberry.
I'm sure it's the Wild Thornberrys. It's like, yeah, some explorer dude on the wild. It was like some cartoon,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It looks like a bit like Rugrat looking.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah. So what are you watching when you're offshore? What are your do you do Netflix or Amazon? Are you watching any series or anything? What gets your attention away from what you do?
Yeah, so I've Eva always says you need to buy some books. So I did. I bought a few books for this trip. There's a really good one I just read. Something about the true life of an assassin, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty tell-all story from some serial killer, pretty
It's like a
much, which is
memoir.
pretty good. Yeah, memoir, and obviously it's all like there's no names or anything, and
Yeah.
everything's changed, but it's pretty damn good, man.
Oh, I'm on
And
that. I
and no,
read a
no
lot.
luck
So
at the moment. What's that, man?
I read a lot, so I'm definitely that's in my list to have a look at that. Like I do
Oh,
about a
get
book
on it.
a month, so I'm definitely going to look at that now. What else is in your list?
Yeah. I've got it here. Um, it's called I Am a Hitman.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
give a contract.
pretty good. But yeah, I don't read too much because I think for these long trips where I do need a lot of books,
Yeah.
these long trips where I would read, I don't have the luggage, so it's yeah. I read on the Greenland trip again. I took quite a few ebooks. I read This Is Gonna Hurt. It's about
Oh yeah.
NHS.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good. It's
that's
a good book.
amazing.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah, and
Adam
then
Kay.
probably the best. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and the best book I've like, it actually brought me to tears. The book is insane. It's called War Doctor.
Yeah.
It's a civilian doctor who's been in every major conflict since Bosnia, or probably before, but been in some insane situations.
Wow.
Just doing his thing and saving lives. Like it is, and it's really interesting. Like he talks about um, the sort of need to to um, to not feel the adrenaline, but to be amongst it. To feel that risk, and it's definitely sort of a theory or an idea that's happened to a lot of people. There's other films and stuff that touches on it, where people get home from a conflict or a deployment. There's another one about a war journalist who gets home and she's living this mundane life, going to Starbucks every day and doing a job in the office, and she's like, no, I need to be back out amongst it. You know, some people need to have that risk around them, you know, to live a life where they're not, you know, where they're feeling fulfilled. You know,
it happens,
and he talks about in his book.
I think that happens a lot with combat sports, with fights, boxing, MMA. You find people still boxing at like 40 or fighting MMA at 40 because I've been stupid and I've just spread myself about, but lots of people focus loads on this, and then when it's over, they're like, "Oh, that's me. I was that." They haven't found who they are. They've not had anything outside of that. All the adrenaline, excitement, fear, happiness, all comes in that environment. So letting it go is like mind blowing for them. So I should imagine that exponentially exceeds that of a cage fighter or an MMA fighter or anything. Being in those environments must be, and I guess you can obviously relate to it more because you've been in the military. So when you read those stories, like to look at it from someone else's perspective must be really intriguing. But I'm definitely going to look at that. But because I'm fascinated with memoir, I mainly read memoir. I'm in the middle of writing a memoir. I've got about half a chapter to go. So memoir for me is like that's my genre if I was going to pick one, you know?
Yeah. No, same, man. That's the sort of stuff I like to read. Like, yeah. So it's a few books done, and then I've got one more week left, so it's slowly winding down now. So,
why did you make that sound like a prison sentence, mate?
We're in a floating prison, mate, for sure. Like, yeah, no, I mean, you can't just say, I want off. Like, no, it's been good, mate. But 6 weeks is enough for me here.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. It's like there's 6 other ex-Marines on the ship, and it's surrounded by like-minded people, you know. So it's been good. But definitely time to get off and make the most of my money.
Definitely. What have you got planned when you get off, mate? Where are you heading?
Yeah, so we got
So you're off for Christmas, right?
Probably get home. Sorry, mate.
You're off for Christmas.
Yeah, I'll drive home probably on Christmas Day. So I've got the long drive from Bristol to Switzerland on Christmas Day.
Wow.
Even I always do something weird for Christmas. I think this year we're planning on sleeping in an ice cave on a glacier somewhere or something like that. And then Boxing Day, flying to Namibia. So it's
amazing,
non-stop.
Yeah, now I understand why it's so prison-like where you are, you know. Mate, listen, I'm gonna let you go. It's been amazing talking to you, and when you're back from your Africa stuff, we're gonna catch up again and go over what that was like, because I think
good, man.
You're the shittest person to follow on Instagram, because although you're the most amazing person to follow on Instagram, like, I need you to tell me. I want to hear what's happened. I want to hear the stories, you know? Like, Instagram is just not enough for what you do.
Cheers, bud. No, man, it was awesome chatting to you. Hopefully we can meet face to face sometime.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So a little message, where can people find you? How can they follow you? Where can they go to find all your stuff?
Cheers, man. Pretty much Instagram, Facebook, and my website is all Tim Howel Adventure, or Tim Howel North Base. But either one of those will come up, and
I'll tag you the posts and stuff anyway. I'm gonna hang on once I've ended. Hang on, we'll say goodbye personally. But for now, though, mate, thank you very much for joining me. It's been awesome talking to you and hearing your stories, and we'll catch up and do one of these again soon.
Nice one. Cheers, bud.